welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am going to be filming an assumptions about birth video. I thought it would be cool to do this video because I know that a lot of you might have any assumptions about birth. I know that before I had Mason I was really curious and I heard a lot of things, so I just thought I would film this video for you guys. I hope that you all enjoy watching. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and let's get started. Okay, so the first one was your vagina stays big. I didn't really know how to answer that one. As far as it staying big, I don't think it stays big. Obviously, as you have more children, your muscles in your vagina will end up getting a lot looser. But I know that I did some Kegels so that it can tighten up. It was a little bit painful because you're trying to recover, but I still managed to get onto the floor and do some right after I had Mason, so that might help. But as far as it staying big, I don't think that it stays big. At least I don't feel like it did. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Okay, so assumption number 2 was, does it hurt to poop after? Guys, honestly, this was like my biggest fear after I had him. I know that my friend told me they don't let you leave the hospital until you go at least once before leaving. But since we got discharged way earlier because Mason ended up staying in the NICU and all of that, I didn't have to poop for them, which was like a big stress relief. I was terrified to go for the first time. But one thing that I did use was stool softeners. I used them for like 4 weeks because I did need help to go, obviously. As far as it hurting, it doesn't hurt, but it is very uncomfortable, especially if you tear down there. You're gonna feel like pressure while going, but it doesn't hurt. It's not very painful. I think going pee was a lot more painful than going poop. Assumption number 3. Your intimate life does change when you have a baby. Yes, it does. As far as it changing, I feel like it changed as in whenever we want to, have our alone time and do it, we're not able to do it whenever we want because everything does revolve around Mason's timing and whenever he goes down to bed and whatnot. So as far as it changing in that way, it did, but any other way I feel like it didn't change. If anything, I feel like it got better. We felt more connected since we did have a kid together. And I know in the beginning it was a lot more stressful because we didn't really have a routine down, and it's just something that everybody wants to do. So whenever we wanted to do it and it was like we couldn't because Mason was crying, and then I feel like when they're a lot younger, they need you more. They're hungry every 2 hours. They're up every 2 hours of the night. But right now he is about to be 6 months old, so he is sleeping through the night. He's down to bed by 9 p.m. So it's a lot better because we're like, okay, past 9 o'clock, we're going to have our alone time, and we can figure things out then. So it does change, but it does get better as they grow older. Assumption number 4. Everything comes natural when you become a mom. Yes and no. So there are some things that come naturally as far as like loving your baby. You're like, how am I gonna love this human being? Like, what is it gonna be like? But I feel like that definitely does come natural. Once they're out, I feel like nothing else mattered at the moment. It's all about them. It's just a bond that you create, and you do love on them naturally. And some mom instincts do come naturally, but not everything. So as far as some things that don't would be like breastfeeding, learning to change a diaper or learning how to swaddle them. Like, I never got good at swaddling, so that's not something that comes naturally. But as far as the bonding, I feel like that does come naturally. It definitely does. Someone said scary. Just scary. It definitely was scary. Like, before I had Mason, I remember being terrified. It's so many mixed emotions. Like, I was excited to finally have him, but I was so scared of the pain, especially when you hear different things. I definitely wanted to know about having a baby, what it was like, but I was also scared as I would hear more stories. And I just realized that you shouldn't be scared because everyone is going to have their own story. So someone might have had a horrible experience that was terrifying, but yours might be super easy and smooth. So yes, it's scary, but try not to be so scared. Just I would say try to be more excited and just relax, because no matter what, it's going to happen. You can spend your whole 9 months carrying them inside you being scared, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to get them out some way, somehow. So just enjoy it. It does go by really fast, but don't be scared. Another assumption was, I've always assumed you poop while giving birth. I assumed that too before I had Mason. I was actually so scared of pooping while I was going to have him. I asked my friend, like, what do I do if I poop? She's like, it's okay, nobody's gonna notice. The nurses are really quick to move the sheets. Nobody's gonna know that you pooped. It might smell a little bit, but that's it. But as far as everyone pooping when you go through birth, no. I didn't poop. I thought I was as I was pushing. I remember my doctor telling me, like, you need to stop doing that. So what I was doing is when I was pushing and his head was like coming out, I would suck it back in because I felt like I was gonna poop. So it does feel like you are going to poop, but I promise you that you might not poop even though it does feel like it. So not everybody poops. Another assumption was, is it true that you feel like your body is missing something after you give birth? As far as missing something, I wouldn't say like a part, like, oh my gosh, I feel like my legs are missing. But definitely you do feel empty. I mean, you carried this baby inside of you for 9 months. You're never alone. So those whole 9 months, I always felt complete because I had him inside me. I knew he was safe in there. And everywhere I went, I mean, whether it was to the restroom, to Walmart, to bed, he was always with me. So one day you just have them and they're out of you, and you do feel a little bit empty, and it's a little bit emotional because you're like, oh my gosh, they're not inside of me anymore, and you just feel empty even though you have them on the outside. But as far as missing, that's the only thing and the only way that I could explain as far as your body missing something. Another one was, do you poop when you give birth? So I already did answer that one, but some people do and some don't. It just all depends. I know several people that they did poop, but like I said, the nurses are very nice to clean it up. They're not going to be like, oh my gosh, you pooped. Like, why did you poop? No, it's just something that happens naturally if you do it. So they're very good at cleaning it up and not making a big deal about it. Another one was, is it really the worst pain? Describe. The worst pain that I've experienced my whole life, yes. I don't think that I've ever gone through something that was so painful. I've said it before, I have a very low pain tolerance. I cannot tolerate pain. I did get the epidural, but before that I could explain to you what it felt like, because once I did get the epidural, I was in heaven and I didn't feel any pain. As far as pushing, I felt pressure and his head coming out of the birth canal, but there was no pain when I didn't have my epidural. So it just feels like a period, and your cramps are like 1,000 times worse. So if you have bad period cramps and it's just very painful, just imagine that like 1,000 times worse. That's the only way I could explain it. And then I was having back labor, so my back was just, every time I got a contraction, it was like somebody was stabbing my back with a knife, and I was begging them to give me a heating pad for my back, because everything, I just felt so much pressure in my back more than in the front. But that's how I can explain it. It felt like a stabbing, sharp pain every time I got a contraction. And then, well, once it was going down, it was like a relief, but you still are just in a lot of pain. That's like a period that's never going to end. That's how I would describe it. What was worse, contractions or the birth itself? Definitely contractions. When I first got to the hospital, I had no pain medication, and the contractions were just coming in really, really strong. Like I said, what it felt like in the assumption before. Once they gave me my epidural, the birth itself was pretty smooth. I pushed for only 12 minutes and he was out. I pushed, I think, like maybe 6 to 8 times. My OB was really good at coaching me when to push, when to stop. I had my best friend and Peter, and they were really supportive, so I know that made it a lot easier. But yeah, when it was time to push, it was definitely smooth, nothing crazy happened, and it was a lot easier than going through the contractions. I remember getting a contraction and I just didn't know what to do. Like, I would grab the side of the bed and I was like, oh my god, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna make it. And my nurse suggested that I call Peter to stand on the side of me so that he can motivate me whenever the contractions were going down or slowing down. But he was just standing there and I was just pissed off. I was like, go back to sit down, get away from me, get away, I don't want anyone next to me. So definitely the birth itself was a lot easier than the contractions and all of the pain that they came with. Do you have trouble peeing after birth? Yes. I got the epidural, so I had a catheter in me, so I did pee on the bed before I was able to walk, because you do have to wait a few hours to walk on your own. So my nurse was guiding me to the restroom when I needed to use the bathroom. I remember her standing there when I peed for the first time without the catheter in the toilet, just to make sure that everything looked good and whatnot. It did sting once the pain wore off, the pain medicine. So I did tear, and that was very painful to go pee. Every time for the first 3 weeks, I would say it was very painful. One thing that I always had right next to me, whether it was leaving the house, everywhere we went, was the Earth Mama spray. That did make it feel a lot better to go pee, but it is, for me, it was very painful to pee. But having trouble, I wouldn't say there's trouble peeing. I mean, you're drinking your water because you're supposed to stay very hydrated as soon as you have the baby. So you're going to need to pee. There's going to be no trouble with that, but it is going to be painful because I did tear, so it was. If you don't tear, then I don't think it's as painful. It just depends. One was, you will never get sleep again. Wrong. That assumption, I can say that I don't agree with. I know a lot of people assume it. They're like, make sure that you get a good night's sleep because you're never going to sleep again. But the first few weeks are rough. You're up all the time. They're very needy. But once they get older and you sleep train them, or they get good at sleeping through the night, you'll get a good night's sleep. For me, sleeping 6 hours for the night is like amazing. I'm well rested and I'm just used to it. So your body is going to get used to it. It really is. I know the first few weeks I was like FaceTiming my mom at 3 in the morning, like trying to stay awake with her because I just wasn't used to it. You know, I was used to sleeping all day because I was always tired. But eventually your body just gets the hang of it, and you're a mom now. You're always up whenever they're gonna need you. And yeah, but you do get sleep, and obviously as they get older, they're gonna sleep through the night and you can get a good night's sleep. Someone said it is a very bloody show while giving birth. Yes and no. I mean, I was in so much pain and the epidural kind of like put me to sleep, and I wasn't paying too much attention. So I'm not like, when I had him, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, is there blood? Where's their blood? But once they were cleaning up, I did see blood on the floor, and obviously they have all like their towels and everything that they use to stitch me up and obviously wrap him in once he came out. But as far as it being super bloody, I wouldn't say super bloody. They're very good at cleaning everything up fast so that it's not just laying around, you know. They just do their job and they're amazing at it. So yeah guys, that is going to be a wrap for my birth assumptions video. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching, and I gave your guys' mind a little bit of ease once I answered these assumptions that you guys had. I know that birth can be scary, exciting, a lot of different emotions. I had a lot of them before I had Mason, but now I'm just super excited to have the next baby. If you guys have any other questions or assumptions, leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on our next video. Bye.